Racing games. What comes with them? Well, obviously, ghosts, monsters, and creepy sounds, right? That is, if you're paying close enough attention. You'd hardly expect to come upon any of these discoveries when casually playing, and for the most part, every racing game doesn't have any of them. But we'll be covering several entries in all these categories that I have found throughout racing games. Not all entirely scary, but for the most part, unknown and a little unsettling. Some are quite frightful, such as this first entry. 2015's The Crew has you racing across the US, or as much as it can make the map look like it, that is. Not even remotely a scary game, but heading to the south section of the map, which looks to be northern Texas, in between scattered trees, you might find yourself stumbling upon a lonesome car and a floating newspaper in the middle of nowhere. Taking a closer look, there seems to be a dead body. What could all this mean? Well, the newspaper talks about some BBC News and what looks like racism in quotes. So, maybe this guy brought himself out here to end it all, or he was killed and left out over the article. Regardless of how he died, it's pretty strange to see an abandoned car alone, but an end-of-the-world newspaper and a dead body near too. I doubt it was ever expected, and it's damn sure unsettling. 2003's Tokyo Extreme Racer 3 and its ghost. What do I mean by that? Well, while you're racing around Tokyo, coming near the C1 outer loop, between the hours of 2 AM and 4 AM at the Kasumigaseki Tunnel, you may have a run-in with death. A driver who crashed his S15 has come back to haunt the player. His bio reads, "His driving is like a bullet traveling with no fear of death, but since the accident, he has installed the highest level roll bar in the interior and added urethane, all for the sake of strengthening the car. Once defeating death, you can purchase his vehicle, but be wary, when driving his car around, the NPC's vehicles will be replaced. In each van you pass, you might notice transparent figures, ghosts if you will, watching your every move, so be careful. Don't be the next death racer." 2019's Need for Speed Heat, an interesting game in the franchise. But we're not here to talk about that. How about a haunted barn? Heading to Fort Callahan, you'll eventually stumble upon a normal-looking wooden barn. Make sure it's nighttime. Pulling up to the barn, you already notice some weird NPC interactions. Cars drive through the grass near the barn, and more often than not, right into the side of it. Making your way inside of it, and turning your car off, you'll hear some creepy noises. I'm not going to explain why this actually happens since it kills the feeling, but the overall experience is pretty unnerving. (1998's California Speed). I covered this in my Creepy Gaming Discoveries video, but it totally fits here again. Launching the map Mojave Desert and following the right side of the path, you'll eventually come upon a billboard with some text on it. It's a large white and pretty simple billboard. The text isn't the easiest to make out, but if you can't, it says this: "Sometimes God takes mommies and puppies away, and sometimes, just sometimes, I do." That's pretty dark, and not something you'd think you'd find in a racing game. Well, the reason this happens to be in the game was due to time crunches, and this was some filler text. That still doesn't explain why the hell this text was chosen, and whoever did it is a little sick, even if it wasn't supposed to be malicious. So the next time you ever pick up a racing game, maybe look out for some disturbing text hidden in places. 2019's Racing with Ryan. What is this about? Well, the most popular kids YouTuber's channel as a racing simulator. Not something I'd ever expect to talk about, but going into the files of the game and looking at the face textures, you'll stumble upon this one. It's an alternate hit frame for his face, but it's rather sinister, especially for a kid's game. There's too many reasons this could be here. A rather sinister joke since this is a kid's game, and who really wants to work on this? Then there's a debug option for making a horrific statement with an image or a text to assume it'll be replaced, sort of like California Speed and its creepy-ass text. For whatever reason though, this was placed into the game. It's disturbing to see, especially if his family has found out. 2010, but also every modern Gran Turismo game and its Loch Ness Monster. What do you expect? It's on the Trial Mountain again. There's a lake on turn 13, where you may notice two men on a boat. You'll have to really drive close to notice, but Nessie is a static image on the left side of the mountain in front of the men. However, in Gran Turismo 7, this is a little different. On a timer, every 5 minutes, for only about 10 seconds, you see Nessie make her way out of the water. Very brief, but she'll take her body out and splash her head down. Not that scary, but it's always fun to see urban legends make their way into games. 2014's Forza Horizon 2, the open-world variant of Forza games. None have really ever had any creepy Easter eggs except for Forza Horizon 2. Not an Easter egg, but more ambience. This can take place in many parts of the map, in certain hangars in the airport, or in the downtown Abbey. If you listen closely, you can hear wind whistling, the sound of metal clanking, and screaming type noises. I don't know if this is supposed to simulate sounds being louder at night, or some variation of outside noises, since it also sounds like you can hear dogs and coyotes barking here and there. Whatever the case, it's creepy as hell. 2016's Forza Horizon 3, the sequel of course to the last entry. I think this also happens in the other previous games, and probably more drastic for those ones. Taking your car towards the crowd near the borders or into the crowds if you can, you'll notice all the static NPCs will follow the movement of the cars, while the moving NPCs of course don't follow the camera. This is most likely to save memory in the game or some other case. It's pretty creepy to watch the crowd follow your every move. Just be mindful the next time you're plastering crappy paint jobs on your car and crashing, as everyone has their eyes on you. There we have it, a collection of creepy glitches, Easter eggs, and random textures in racing games that you probably haven't heard of. Some of these were actually pretty cool and a little meh, but for racing games it's pretty hard to find any creepy discoveries to stumble upon. Regardless of how frightening they all were, I hope you enjoyed, and I thank you for watching.